Hey guys! So today's video is actually part 2 in a series of videos I'm doing documenting my process working on the Sketchbook project. If you want to learn more about the Sketchbook project itself and sort of how I've approached it thus far, I will leave a link to the first video in the description and in the cards. Now, the one thing that has kind of been a unifying thread through my process working on the Sketchbook project is that it's been a struggle. And there were a number of reasons for this, some of them mental and some of them physical. The biggest physical problem was that the paper in the sketchbook that they sent you is not good. It is not at all made for any kind of medium that I can think of. It doesn't really work with wet mediums. Everything bleeds through everything. And the texture isn't even right for pencils, colored pencils. So I'm not really sure how you're supposed to add color to the pages. At first, I thought I was just going to suck it up. I have worked in sketchbooks with not great paper before, and I've finished them. So I just thought this would be another one of those. However, the more I thought about it, and the more that I actually put off working in the sketchbook because I just didn't want to deal with the paper, I ended up making the ultimate decision to start over from scratch. In the little instruction booklet that they gave you with the sketchbook itself, it says that you're allowed to rebind your sketchbook using whatever paper that you want. And as I mentioned, I didn't really think that I was going to do this, but in a desperate attempt to get some sort of motivation or some sort of ball rolling, I decided to rebind and throw away any progress I had on the sketchbook thus far. Luckily, that wasn't too many pages, and I did rebind it with less pages than it initially had, so I should still be able to meet the deadline in time. The method in which I bound this sketchbook is using the method that I used in my sketchbook tutorial video. It's really how I do most of my hand-bound sketchbooks. I find that it's the easiest and quickest way, while still keeping the pages together very securely and giving you a fairly lay-flat spread. When I was binding this sketchbook, I was kind of trying to decide what type of paper I wanted to use. And I knew I wanted to use good paper because a big part of what was holding me back was the terrible paper in the original sketchbook. And I ended up using 3 different kinds. I used a very heavy 140-pound watercolor paper, which is what I do all of my originals on. I used a craft cardstock that I purchased initially to create packaging for my Etsy shop, but I have colored on it before and it's a joy to work on. And just some plain white cardstock, which I have also worked on before and find enjoyable as well. Now, the big thing about starting this sketchbook over from scratch is I didn't want to fall victim to the same things that I did before. I didn't want to be nervous. I didn't want to be stuck on the theme and basically be struggling for ideas. And this is where the kind of tutorial part of this video comes in. I figured that prompts are something that often help people when they're stuck, and I also like to write. I've mentioned that on this channel before. I am an author, and though I typically tend towards novel-length fiction or even longer-form short stories, I also enjoy writing poetry from time to time. I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily the best poet or that I use any kind of real structure. I just write how I feel, and I try to make it sound good. I try to make sure that it has some kind of flow. Sometimes this means rhymes, sometimes it means no rhymes. It's just trying to express myself in words that flow nicely. And so I ultimately ended up writing a poem based on the sketchbook project theme that I had chosen, which was connections. And I thought that this could serve as a jumping off point for the actual illustrations. You can use this prompt technique with anything you would like. It could be random ideas and prompts that you find on the internet. It could be a short story or someone else's poem. Anything that is text-based will work for what I'm doing here. I like writing my own poems mostly because I like to write, and I feel that it naturally makes it more unique and personal than using someone else's writing. However, if you don't find enjoyment out of writing, then go ahead and find something else to use. Creativity is about adaptation, and if anything that I say I do doesn't work for you, find something that does. Now, the next step is to get the words that you want to use as your prompts onto paper somehow. Now, I have a typewriter, and I love finding excuses to use it, so I ended up pulling that out. It's a little dusty, you might be able to see, because it has been a while since I've used it, though I was wondering how something got dusty when it was in a closed contained box. But that's a completely random tangent and just a reminder of how my brain works, I guess. You can handwrite your poem, you can type it on the computer and print it, you can stamp it, etc., etc. But because I'm a giant nerd and I wanted to use my typewriter, that's what I did. And once you have your words in some kind of physical form, the next step is to just cut and paste them to the individual pages. I actually took the time to arrange mine. I figured out how many lines should go on each page for the best effect, but you can easily wing this. Really, that was just my perfectionism kicking in. To further drive home the perfectionism point, I actually wrote the number of lines I wanted on each page on a scrap of paper and crossed them off as I went in order to keep track and make sure that everything stayed the way that I had initially intended for it to be. When you're finished, you will have a sketchbook that has prompts on each page, and those prompts create an overarching story. This can be a great thing to keep you inspired when you're kind of stuck for ideas. And I know that for me, it's been a really good thing to help me keep from falling into the trap I was before of being so obsessed with the theme that I wasn't drawing at all. With this technique, all of the illustrations, as long as they're based on the prompts, will in the end lend to the same idea of the theme that I covered in the poem. So I don't have to worry about it. And since I'm definitely a worrier by nature, anything that I can do in order to take that pressure off of myself is a good thing. Before I go, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for 100 subscribers. It really blows my mind and it means so much to me because 100 is such a strong number. It's a solid milestone and I appreciate each and every person that has helped me get to this point. As of the time of this voice recording, it's actually at 110 and that is also crazy to me. So thank you. So give this technique a try. Find some kind of poem or story, cut the lines out and paste them into a sketchbook, and let me know how it works for you. Does it help you when it comes to generating ideas? Does it kind of restrain you? Because different people definitely have different reactions to different types of external pressure, and I suppose that this could be considered a type of external pressure. But all in all, I hope it was helpful in the end. Thank you all so much for watching. You can subscribe if you want, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.